Hi, everybody. My name is Leslie Pyle, and I am the founder of HireMyMom.com. And today I am super excited to have Abby Ashley with the Virtual Savvy talk to us about her business and what she does. So, Abby, thank you so much for being with us.
Yes, thank you. I'm so excited to talk to you.
Yeah, well, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got your start and your passion and everything.
Definitely. I was a stay-at-home mom looking for a way to make money online. Really, really had wanted to stay at home with my kids, but I pretty quickly became bored, which I find a lot of people are that way too. And I love my kids. I love my kids so much, but I really needed something that was for me, right? And we weren't doing the greatest financially by any means, and I knew that if I could contribute something financially to my family, that would really make a big impact as well. So a friend actually suggested that I look into being a virtual assistant. So this was in 2015. So I scoured the internet that night, and the next day started calling myself a virtual assistant and kind of pieced my way together through choosing what services I was going to offer. And my background was in marketing. And I knew that if I was going to make this successful, that I would need to really have a clear focus on marketing. So I did some online marketing. I really went out to local networking events. That was huge. I was living in the DC area at the time, and there were tons of live networking events that I could go to. And really quickly, I was able to be completely sold out of my services, which for me was about 15 hours a week. I wasn't looking for full-time work. But then the requests kept coming. And, once the reputation built that like, hey, this girl is good at what she does, I started getting more and more referrals. And so I thought, well, why don't I help out some of my other, stay-at-home mom friends too? I can train them on this and start to subcontract. So I got to the point where I was making $10,000 a month plus in my business, just because I had grown this massive team of subcontractors underneath me. So by late 2016, I had a lot of people asking me, Abby, how did you do this? What's the secrets? You're working from home and balancing, being a mom too. How do you do this? And so I decided to launch an online course. And it was previously called the VA Boot Camp, and we've recently changed the name to the Savvy System. And now we've trained, over 2,000 people have gone through the course. And it's just such a joy to be able to help other people on this journey discover something that they didn't even know existed. That's kind of my goal now, is I want to train, and this may be over my lifetime, but I want to train 100,000 people to become virtual assistants, because I believe that it would become a known industry. And if it's a known industry, then it becomes an option. Because I think there's so many people who could be doing this right now, they just don't even know it exists. And so that's really my passion and what drives me.
And did you happen to see that Kevin O'Leary, the guy on Shark Tank, was just quoted saying if he had to start a side hustle right now, he would start a virtual assistant business?
I didn't see that, but now I'm going to have to go look
Yes.
that up.
Go use it in your social media. I posted it on Hire My Mom, and I also posted it on my LinkedIn. I'm like, if you're not doing this and you're still trying to figure it out, this is a great option, because there are, as you know, a gazillion different types of virtual assistants, because there's so many niches that you can get into. And there's so many small businesses that are trying to do it all, and they are learning that they can't. And especially with the times we're in and working remotely, it's like, I should just hire someone to work from home. Hello, we can help, right? You can help.
Right over here, me please. Yes, I mean, it's just, this is such a time to be jumping on the wagon, I think, because a stat from a few years ago quoted that by year 2027 there'd be more freelancers than employees, and I think that number is actually going to come quicker than we realize, especially with everything going on in our world right now. So I mean, it's the time. People are getting more and more comfortable with hiring remotely. business owners are seeing the value in hiring contractors as opposed to full-time employees or even part-time employees. And it's just becoming more and more accepted. And that's just really exciting.
It is. It really is. Okay, so for those that are new to all of this, how do you define a virtual assistant?
Yes. So I think it was great what you said, that virtual assistant can cover so many different things, right? So I view virtual assistants as kind of an umbrella term that a lot of different jobs can fall underneath. So for me, any type of remote work that it's usually focused creatively, administrative, or technical, really could be listed as a virtual assistant. So some people will come in and they'll be a general virtual assistant, which is what a lot of my students start out as. You kind of test the waters, right? You're literally, hey, any small business, what can I take off of your plate? Okay. And so anything that maybe, an admin would do, invoicing, customer service emails, simple social media posting, things like that. However, what I love to see happen is eventually for these VAs to grab a hold of something and say, oh, I found, one of my clients was asking me to post to her Pinterest, and I love Pinterest management. And so that's where, a lot of my students, we have also a tech training membership. And so we can train you to be a real estate VA or a YouTube VA or a podcast manager or a Pinterest manager, and so to really find a niche and to go all in with that and become the known expert in this one thing is one way to grow your business. And I think that's another thing I love so much about virtual assistants is that there isn't one right way. So some people will stay generalists and they're making, a couple $100 a month or a couple $1,000 a month, and they're happy with that. And that's amazing because they're able to live the life they want with that. And then I have, I know someone who has 64 subcontractors under her, and she does every kind of service imaginable. It's insane. She employs military spouses. I'll connect you to later because she's amazing. But it's, really you can do the gamut, right? Of what do you want this to be? How big do you want this business to be? Do you want it to be more like an agency, or do you want to just have a few clients on your own? I really think the sky's the limit, and that's what I love about it.
Yes, absolutely. I agree 100%. So how much money do you think VAs can really make?
I mean,
kind of answered that a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, some of my students are making in that $20,000 to $30,000 a month range, which is amazing. And one in particular doesn't even have a team underneath her yet, which I'm like blown away by. But I find that most VAs, will come in, and then it's kind of up to them. Do they want to make a couple $100 a month, a couple $1,000 a month? Most of my students are making anywhere between like $3,000 and $5,000 a month, but they're working on their terms and their schedule, and they are deciding, what they want to do. So yeah, I don't think that there's necessarily a number of like, this is the cap, because I don't know. I believe there is no cap. The sky's the limit, right? But that's generally what I find.
Yeah, awesome. So how does someone get started if they're new to this and they're like, I don't know where to go, what to do? Like, what's my first step?
Yes. So I think the very first thing is to identify the skills that you already have. What services are you going to offer? I'm a huge fan of VA starting out as a generalist. I know some people say like, the riches are in the niches, or whatever. And I do think that that's true in a sense. I think that you can raise your prices and become a specialist and all of that. But I think far too often people jump into trying to be a specialist in something if they don't really have the experience, or if they don't even know if they like it, right? And it can be a little more difficult to find clients if you're really, really, really niche down, if you don't already have kind of a track record. So I tell people, start off as a generalist, list all the things that you know how to do. And there's tons, we have a resource on our site. I'm sure you may have a resource. There's tons of resources out there of all the things you can do as a virtual assistant. So kind of do a skills assessment and see what are all the things I could offer. And what I tell people to do is just list those all out, and then you can have packages of hours. So I'll, here's 10 hours a month, 20 hours a month, 40 hours a month, and then price those according to your hourly rates. Start there And then, you can always move and shift. I always say everything's a draft one, right?
Yeah.
So start with what you've got, and then, you can shift and change it. That's totally what happened with me. I started off and I'm like, I can, do appointment setting phone calls. And then, 2 or 3 hours into trying to be on the phone with my baby crying in the background, I'm like, no, I can't do this. This is not going to work. So I took it off my list. Right. So that's where I would say people start, is having that kind of assessment of your skills and then move on from there.
Yes. And I agree 100% because you may not know that you love editing YouTube videos or maybe working in the real estate industry if you've never tried those things. So when
Right.
you can just do the whole bucket, anything that sounds interesting to you, and then as you grow, narrow it down, because that's one of the benefits I tell small businesses why remote teams are so valuable, because you can have Sally over here doing YouTube for you. You can have Mary over here who rocks Pinterest. And then you can have Joanne back here doing your accounting. And they may all only work 5 to 10 hours a week for you.
Right.
But they don't really care because they're going to work for 5 or 10 other people. And that's the beauty of having a remote team, is because you don't have to employ them full time or part time. You don't, all of those things. So that's the message I'm trying to get out to small businesses, why they should hire remote. And I've been doing a lot of guest articles on these small business websites, trying to educate small businesses, because I think there's a mental block for them that they have to hire a generalist, and maybe they've hired one in the past and they botched up their accounting or their social media or whatever it might have been, because they thought they had to hire Sally to do everything, and you don't. So
Right.
I'm glad to hear you say that. And sometimes Sally loves accounting and sometimes she hates it. So niche out, and figure out what it is that you love.
Yes. And I do. I think everyone, I really love when I see my students go on and really dive into a niche to do, and you can be niche specific with industry or with your service, or even both. Right. So I have, a student that does just Dubsado setup. Right. So she sets up Dubsado for small business owners, but then she also had a lot of strong ties to the wedding industry, and she realized that most of her clients were like wedding planners. So then she niched down even further, and now she does Dubsado setup for wedding professionals, and she's killing it, right? Because she made like a name for herself with her service and with her industry, but it took time to get to that point.
Yeah. She didn't wake up one morning and all of a sudden be the expert in that field.
Exactly.
Okay, so tell me some of your top do's and don'ts.
Yes. Okay. I actually just did a whole live stream on these. I should have pulled up my notes from this. So I'll remember a lot of them. Okay. So number one, I would say find some kind of community, right? That's one of the things, even if you're an introvert, introverts and extroverts alike need to have people around them who just get it. That's one of the first things that I find, is that once you start going down this path, if you don't have people around you, it can be really lonely, and it can get discouraging because people just don't understand. Like, what are you really trying to do? Why aren't you trying to find a real job? Why are, what's going on? But if you can surround yourself with people who get it, with people who are on the same journey with you, then when you hit those roadblocks, you'll have people on the other side of them saying, it's okay, we've been there too, come on over, it's fine, we'll get past this together. So do find a community. Don't go about this alone.
Mm-hmm.
Another do, let's see. So I would say do have some kind of a contract in place too, some kind of an agreement, something that's going to legally protect you with your clients. I think that that's a mistake that I see new VAs make, is it's just like, oh, well, this is kind of a friend of a friend, so I don't want to do anything too formal, and they think that it's scary, but it actually helps you come off as professional. It protects you, it really does protect you. And so having some kind of a contract or agreement in place is really important. And then in the same way, one of my don'ts would be, don't work for free. And some people disagree with me, and it's totally fine if somebody disagrees. But I think that there's something really rewarding about that first client hump, right? So getting your first client, it can be a longer road, right? You're getting used to this whole marketing thing. Most of us aren't natural born salespeople, natural born marketers. So it's okay if it takes you a little time. But when you actually get somebody to pay you money in exchange for your services, it's the best feeling in the whole world. And it provides you this momentum that keeps you going. And so, and I have found that once people get over that first client hump, it's like a snowball effect, right? It's a little easier and a little easier. And then the referrals start coming in, and it's all downhill from there. And so, I really, really encourage people, even if your first client is at a discounted rate, or if you're doing a barter, right? I know somebody who does VA work in exchange to get their nails done. That's fine. But like, I have found that most people who just work for free, it just doesn't end out well. That the relationship kind of gets abused. The person is expecting a lot, and they find themselves working for free for somebody and being like, oh my gosh, why did I do this? So that would be one of my don'ts that I would encourage as well.
Yes. And that makes a lot of sense, because I think sometimes, moms are so desperate to find a way to work from home that they'll think, I'll just do it for free. And you have to, like you said, just be very careful, because it's a slippery slope. I've only seen that work a couple of times, but it was not really VA work. It was more like someone wanting to write for a blog and said, if I submit a guest piece and you like it, would you consider hiring me? Or, if I created 5 social media posts and you like them, would you consider me? Something small like that, that's not going to take you very much time to get your foot in the door. But you can't really say, I'll do your email management and get absorbed into that, because that takes a whole lot of time and effort and learning. That's not a good one, in my opinion, to kind of test the waters with. So if you're going to do that, you have to be really careful and think through it smartly.
Yeah. And that's actually one of the things that I do teach my students is to do. So I feel like there's a difference between working for free and showing value first. So I'll actually encourage my students, hey, you see somebody that posts a job for a Pinterest manager, just go ahead without them even asking for it. I think that's one of the keys. Go ahead and make 5 pins that resemble their brand, and just be like, hey, I just wanted to give these to you kind of as a free gift, right? And that's going to make you stand out. It's going to make you, separate yourself from the people who are just like, oh, here's my website, here's my prices, whatever. It's going to make you stand out. It's going to show examples of your work. And it's a value first approach as opposed to a working for free approach. So it's kind of a gray line, but I have my students kind of ride that line, because I do think there's a lot of value in being like, hey, I'm the kind of person that goes above and beyond, and you're going to see that exemplified through all of my work. And I'm going to show you up front that I'm the kind of person that does that.
Yes, absolutely. Getting your foot in the door. I love that, because I do think that's a very good strategy for, and I tell people, if there's some business that you really want to work for, and that they are hiring, or they have hired, or whatever, be that person. Don't stalk them, but, comment on their social media, or provide a helpful article over here, like occasionally, not like every day, because then they'll be like, who is this weird lady? But your name becomes known, and they're like, okay, there's Leslie. She's that one that kept sending us stuff. And now that we need a VA, wonder if she'd be interested. So that kind of staying on top of mind is another kind of strategy that I've seen work for people.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay. So what is the number one thing you see that keeps new VAs from being successful?
So the number one thing that I feel like gets VAs just kind of stuck to a point where they can't move forward is usually the trap of perfectionism. I find that a lot of VAs will, we went into this because most of us are just good at doing what we do, right? Like, we do excellent work, and that's kind of why we go into this industry. And I'm not saying don't value excellence, for sure. I'm not saying that. But what I find happens a lot is that we will spend, we're working on our website, and we will spend months and months and months tweaking, and this picture needs to be moved a little over here, or this doesn't look right, or let me rewrite my about page like for the 7th time. And you'll spend months and months and months doing that. as opposed to going out and getting clients, right? And you spend all this time and energy just working on your own business instead of getting out there and really starting to get in with clients. So I'm a big fan of setting deadlines for ourselves, right? For saying, okay, like this Friday, I've been going back and forth and I've been agonizing over what my business name is going to be. By Friday at noon, whatever I've come up with, that's what I'm going to pick, and I'm just going to go with it, right? And tell someone, that's where kind of that community comes in to play again. Tell somebody, all right, whatever I have, hold me to it this Friday at noon, I'm just going to go with, right? My methodology is go, set, ready. It's something that my pastor used to say. And I think that there is an element of that you just kind of have to roll with. Because the thing is, and I hate to say this, but it's true, that logo that you are agonizing over and you are working on so hard and you're trying to tweak and make absolutely perfect, 3 years from now, you're probably going to hate it. It's you're going to want to change it anyways because you're going to get sick of it. So it's like, so again, I'm not saying don't value excellence, but I think that there is something really important to be said for saying like, okay, I've put all this work in. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to consider this my draft one, right? And I'm going to keep moving forward and as much as possible, start getting to that marketing. Because again, we sometimes will work in our business so much that we don't really take the time to go out and do some real marketing and really start, responding to these different job posts or different, like really getting in there and doing the work that's going to get you clients. And we'll spend so much time on the back end that we don't focus on that. And then we go months and we're like, oh, this isn't working because I don't have clients.
Right. And I think as you were saying that, I kept thinking of the fear of rejection. Like I think some people don't want to put themselves out there because they're fearful that they'll get rejected or they won't get the job or whatever. And that's a real fear. I mean, we all have fears, but you have to know that sometimes it takes 10 no's to get a yes. And the quicker you get through those no's, the quicker you get to the yes. And we were talking earlier, we're both people of prayer. We're both Jesus lovers. I mean, just pray for the right doors to open and the right jobs to apply for and the right clients to go after, because sometimes you'll just get a reluctance, at least I know I do, about a person. Like I've never had to do this, but there was somebody that wanted to use our concierge service and I just had such reluctance. And I just said, I mean, this was hard to do. I don't think we're a good fit. And it's better to do that than to know the person you're going to work with is going to be like, and that's the feeling I got, that this was going to be a person that I could not please, a perfectionist, one that complains about 99% of whatever. I was like, I can't handle that stress. There's not enough money. So I'm sorry, I don't think we're the right fit. And sometimes you have to do that, and just go for the ones that feel like they're more in line with who you are, your goals, your personality, your interest, your experience, and that sort of thing.
Yes, definitely. I think that fear of rejection is spot on. And like you said, it's one of those things that it's a valid fear because it is going to happen, but it doesn't have to be a fear that paralyzes you. It can be something that you're like, okay, I know this is going to happen. And then you can prepare for it. What's my plan for when it happens? Okay. Am I going, and we do this whole lesson in my course that's like facing objections. It's like if somebody says this or says this or says this, how do you respond? And that way you feel prepared, you feel trained for this is what I'm going to do. But sometimes, like you said, it's just not a good fit, and that's okay. And sometimes that may be on their end, they're just not feeling it. And sometimes it might be on your end, you have that check in your spirit or whatever it may be that you're like, nope, this just isn't it. And then you can move on and it's okay. And so I think that fear can definitely be a valid feeling. It's okay to feel that initially. It's what you do with it afterwards that's important.
Yes, absolutely. And just knowing that, there's enough fish in the sea, enough clients to go around. So if you lose one or you don't get one, pick yourself up and go after the next one because they're out there. It's just a matter of finding them.
Yeah. Oh, that's another thing. So, I found that it's like for most VAs to replace their income, they need between, and this is a really average, but between 4 and 7 clients. And to me, that makes it makes this whole thing just seem less overwhelming, you know, like for me to have a successful online course, I need hundreds of people to say yes, or thousands maybe to say yes, right? For it for it to make a financial impact, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for most people, I need 4 people. I just need 4 yeses. So if it takes me 20 no's to get those 4 yeses, is it worth it? Yes, it totally is, you know? So keep going. And I think that's why it's important too, to kind of plan out my packages, and okay, I only need 4 people to say yes to my middle package, and that's it. And so you make that your goal and you go for it.
Right. So that leads me to my next question. Tell us a little bit about your course, like the modules and what's included for those that might be eager and interested to learn more.
For sure. So my signature course is called the Savvy System. It is my 3rd child. I mean, I have labored and poured my heart into this thing. So it is 70 lessons. It's designed to be a year-long program at least, but you do get lifetime access to it. And it breaks apart everything. So we go through the launch, grow, and scale phase. So launch is setting up your business. You get setting up your prices and your packaging, your services. How are you going to invoice? The legalities, right? Do I need to set up an LLC? All of that. We give you the contract that you need. You actually get access to our attorney who created the contract. So if you have questions about your contract, you can ask them about that. So that's all in that launch phase. And then grow. Grow is, I'm like, let's get to grow as soon as we can, because that's all about marketing. So we teach you how to do the marketing. We teach you how to go out and find, these various places that have job listings, or, how to go after local clients, different ways to market your business. We also post a few job opportunities in our private group every single, we usually have multiple a day. So you're getting exclusive access to job opportunities as well. And then the scale phase is all about like, okay, I've sold out my services, now what, right? So how do I, maybe I was going from a full-time job to full-time VA. What does that look like? How do I bring on subcontractors? How do I scale my business and really start to, develop a high-end service, if that's the route you want to go? Or how do I develop an agency if that's the route you want to go? So it really covers all aspects. And so that is the signature course, the Savvy System. And then we also have a tech training membership. And every month we add a new tech course. So we have over 50 courses in there already. Then every month we add a new one. So everything from Pinterest management to YouTube management to ConvertKit and Canva and MailChimp and all the things. So you can actually, like we said, start out with what you know, but then maybe one service at a time. Well, maybe I want to be a Pinterest manager. Go through the Pinterest management course, see if you like it, get trained on it. And then, then you can confidently say, hey, I know how to do this. So that's the goal with our programs.
Wow, that sounds awesome. Sounds very inclusive too. So we'll be putting your links at the bottom of the video. So if anybody wants to learn more, they'll be able to click through and access your information and follow you on social media and all those good things.
I love it.
Yeah. Well, it's been so fun learning about you and what makes you tick and all those good things. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
And we'll talk soon.
All right. Bye-bye.